Hey everybody, just wanted to jump on and let you know that the Exalted 3rd Edition Dragon Blooded Kickstarter for the book titled What Fire Hath Wrought is live now. This is a book I worked on. It has already blitzed past its goal, but any more contributions you're willing to offer will possibly get me more work. That would be great. The link to the Kickstarter will go up with our next episode and is also on our How to Give Us Money page. So hey, if you want to go check that out, that would be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening and enjoy the episode.
Okay, so do you hear me? You hear me good?
I can hear you. Hear you good. Hang on. Can you hear this?
Is that the sound of you opening a Le Croix?
No, I've jumped ship. It's a boobly.
A boobly.
It's a Pepsi product, which I'm not too pleased with, but I couldn't find any key lime LaCroix, and I was like, well, this is a little. I guess it's LaCroix. I don't want to say LaCroix. It's LaCroix.
Croix.
So I found some boobly.
It's
an orange boobly. It's
Boobly
terrible.
is worse.
It's heavily marketed to millennials. Like it's the U is like a little smile,
Okay.
and then the back there's like a little face with a tongue sticking out, and then the little pull tab is a bright orange, and it says "Yo."
I hate it.
It may as well say like #YOLO on it or something.
God. I saw it next to the Le Croix at my friendly local grocery store.
Yeah.
And I just regarded it and it kept going. It was just sort of like, oh, that's...
Yeah, it's a huge thing. LaCroix, like, I was reading all about the history of LaCroix and how, like, the logo, the crazy, like, Dixie Cup looking 80s logo that's hideous, and that's a recent thing. Like, it came out, like, they came out with that in, like, 2002 or something.
Huh.
And they had, like, this selection of these beautiful, like, modern, very clean logos, but the one that tested the best with their focus groups was this awful, like, 80s mom logo. So that's what they went with.
Huh. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like this huge, like, homegrown, like, it's its own thing. It's not owned by one of the big soda companies. So I regard Boobly with suspicion because, you know, fuck the corporations.
I mean, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, so enjoy your Boobly, I guess.
So give up.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things where I'm like, well, I try to do this one ethical thing, but my pants were made by children in China, so...
Yeah, I don't know how to make my own pants.
Right,
like,
I mean,
I'm doing my best.
But it's a lot of work.
I'm doing my best over here.
I mean, I do know how to make my own pants, but denim is expensive. I don't own a serger, so if I did a regular stitch, they might fall apart. Pockets are really fucking hard, and fuck zippers. So, I'll just buy them on Amazon. I know Jeff Bezos has all the money, and he doesn't need my money either. And, like, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Everything is impermanent. We're all going to die. That's the zen of the world we live in.
That's terrible, though. Like, I'm trying not to think of that as like so go ahead and give up kind of a state. It's supposed to be like a rallying, like, this is awful, we need to do something. But it ends up being like a comforting, like, fuck, there's nothing I can do.
Right. Like,
I live in a suburb of Kansas City.
Right.
Like, I'm
sometimes
not gonna...
I have to go to Walmart. Sometimes I have to, like...
Because I need to be able to afford, like, to own my house and feed my kids.
Yeah.
So sometimes I gotta go to Walmart, and I can't, like, look anybody in the eye. Like, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry that I'm doing this.
Hi.
I know that I'm the problem right now. I'm sorry.
Are you gonna spectate? Because I'd prefer that you didn't. Okay.
Oh, the problem with... oh, God. I'm so sorry. The problem with drinking the boobly is...
Oh, yeah,
no.
there's the problem with the boobly.
Why is it on?
Henry says hi.
Hey, Henry.
She says, hey, Henry.
Get your own podcast.
She says, get your own podcast.
I was not trying to backseat podcast or anything.
You weren't. She just said that on her own.
Yeah, it's just
She's being very rude.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
yes,
tell her she's no longer invited to my cookout.
He said you're not invited to his cookout. Okay, all right. So I have a goblet full of blackberry wine.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's Polish and it's highly alcoholic. So let's do this.
Oh my god! So we gotta we're on a time crunch here.
I haven't started drinking, and I just took that.
You're gonna-
that wet
you're gonna
sound was me sipping the first sip. That was the inaugural sip.
Ugh, that wet smack. Between you going and me just doing my boobly burps over here, this is going to be a very sensory episode.
It's going to be a wet.
We need to have a misophonia trigger warning at the beginning. We're so sorry. We were both drinking really gross things.
Yeah, we're drinking real gross. This is the wet episode.
Oh God!
It's not episode 3.
Episode 69.
The wet episode.
The wet episode. That plays in well with my ASMR bit from earlier. Hi, welcome to our very special ASMR episode of Bonus Experience, where I'm going to be rolling some dice and making some pencil scratches on this paper. Let me know if you can. Okay, I can't keep that
All
up.
right,
Where are you?
That's hard work. Where am I? I was waiting for you to be done.
You were just just let her get it out.
I was actually
what are we doing
to
today?
see if I had a pencil to make pencil scratches at the right.
Oh, to make little.
Yeah.
My favorite. I have before I broke my Wacom pen. I have my favorite Wacom pen nib is the one that makes it feel like it's pencil on paper, like it's all rough and gritty.
Nice.
So when you make marks on the tablet, you hear the.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Except it does sound very good. All right.
We're not talking about ASMR today, though.
We're not. We are going to go back to our topic on you're going to have to trust me.
Yeah, we have to redo this one because Margaret dumped boobly all over the keyboard. We lost it.
Margaret lost the file. It got eaten by the computer gremlins.
Oh, we didn't even do our intro though.
We didn't. So I guess we can use this bit for our beginning about
we're boobly experience. A podcast with a deeper look at the experience of sparkling water and the finer details of how to pronounce LaCroix.
LaCroix. Actually, we're bonus experience, which is a podcast with a deeper look at the play experience and the finer details of running and writing games. I'm Monica.
I'm Ray.
And we swear. Die mad about it.
Die mad about
Die
it.
Die furious about it. We
have a heart attack in the middle of your angry tweet.
Yeah, because we don't care.
No,
We don't care that you're mad.
That'd probably be really good, publicity.
Somebody died because they were mad about it? That they actually took our directions? We'd be like, see, we said so. Somebody
an informative advice podcast.
Yeah, informative. Yeah.
Look, they followed through.
They
anyway,
died mad about it. Yeah, so...
Oh, okay.
Right.
We're all out of order here. So we're talking about player engagement, which we're having trouble with podcast host engagement right now.
I think our engagement is fantastic. You and I are very engaged with each other, just not with the topic.
Just not with the topic, no. We're talking about building player engagement and trust.
And trust. Trust is very important. Trust is key to running a good game.
Yeah, the player that never looks up from their phone, even when it's their turn, that's an engagement problem. They're not engaged with your game. Trust is obviously pretty important to these games. You got to trust that the GM isn't going to dick you over and then you won't have any fun. You have to trust that the players won't run roughshod over the intended play experience and then you won't have any fun. So there's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of, it's a conversation about expectations.
Yes, that's good. That's a good point. I just was yes, enthusiastically.
Good, yes,
good, yes,
it's very good.
Yes.
So how do you improve engagement? How do you work on this nebulous concept of engagement?
Well, you could use built-in system tools. You have a great point here on our outline about Popcorn Initiative.
Yeah, I like to use Popcorn Initiative, which is the system where, whatever player, whoever's turn it is, they get to decide who's next in the initiative, and that could be another player or an NPC, and I like to use that because then not only do we not have to keep track of initiative, but I think when I have to adjust my mic, I can hear myself blowing into it. I think when then I heard it blow into it again. How did I go up here? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Margaret, this is going to be real hell for you, Margaret. I think when I think when initiative is unexpected, the player has to pay more attention because they could be next. And if you're setting up like a really cool combo move, you got to know what you're building off of and all that. I've seen other tools that make initiative like wholly undercover, like you count down until you reach someone's number, or what, like the random playing card they drew. I know that this is in the Dungeon Master's Guide in D&D 5th edition, and there's like a really, and I still don't remember what it's called, but it's this really cool, like it's got like speed factor, and it looks really complicated, and I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but it's one of those things that's like on my wish list of things to try out.
Yeah, so on the subject of Popcorn Initiative, Cam Banks, who's one of the guys who created it, actually hates it when you call it that.
Oh no, what am I supposed to call it?
I don't know what you're supposed to call it.
Oh, fuck him!
Like, but like I've seen him in person
get
visibly annoyed when someone refers to it as Popcorn Initiative.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to give me fucking another option here.
There is another name for it. I just don't remember.
Oh,
but
okay.
I just also wanted to brag about the fact that I've seen someone purposefully annoy Cam Banks in person by repeatedly referring to it as Popcorn Initiative.
I'm going to call it La Croix Initiative.
Okay, call it La Croix Initiative. So, yeah, I've used a lot of different initiative tools in the past, and personally, I really don't give a fuck if you're checking Facebook, but when it's not your turn. Because I have a pretty big player group, and sometimes there's like 6 people in the game. I don't usually go above 7, but just 6 people's a lot, and sometimes somebody gets the spotlight for a while, and like if you want to answer a text or play around, play a game or whatever, just turn the fucking sound off first off. Fine, but be ready to go. You best be paying attention when the last person ahead of you goes so you can jump right into the action when it's time, and I will call your ass out if you don't. Disclaimer, I'm actually pretty nice about this unless you've been a jerk to me first, or unless this is a really terrible repeat pattern of behavior. I mean, I also say this because that's me sometimes. I'm the person who's like, well, Twitter.
Huh? What? My turn? What?
Well, I mean, like the person who's checking their phone. And that's, I have an aggressive need to fidget, which is a direct result of my brain not working, thanks ADHD. And unless you really want me, like, picking at my eyebrow or tapping my pen or like having a restless leg syndrome or getting up and moving around through everyone else's turn, I'll just check Facebook, okay? I'm also fine if people want to doodle or knit or build a thing like your one player has. Those things are okay. Like, it is okay to let your brain be idle, but also sort of a little bit active, like play with a fidget spinner or whatever. Just be ready when it's time to go and try not to disrupt other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sort of thing is really only a problem when it becomes disruptive. I see a lot of people be like, put your phones away, don't do the thing, but like, that's fine. Just be ready to go and try not to disrupt other people's enjoyment. So like, don't play a tappy game on your phone with the sound on.
And this can be hard to keep track of. Like it's hard enough in a real life game, but if you're, say, playing online, you have no way of knowing if you've lost engagement other than, it's been a while since they wrote a thing.
Is this person a slow typer or are they AFK?
I have a very dear friend of mine who has played in now like a couple of games with me online, who will just straight up just get up and walk away from the computer. And it's kind of infuriating.
Yeah.
But because we've known each other for so long, I can text her and be like, "Hey, stupid, it's your turn." and I've just straight up skipped her before. Like, I'm sorry, like 6 other people are waiting on you, man. We got to keep this rolling.
Yeah, and online games don't move quickly either.
Yeah, just on a base level, they're not moving that quickly.
No, they're not moving that quickly. We could do a whole show on that.
Online games. Yeah, we should. Is that on our list?
We should
add that in there.
I think it might be.
So we've got a couple of different ways we can use like the actual like system tools, but there's also ways you can use narrative to engage people. Obviously, you want them to engage with your story, with what's actually going on beyond like the rolling dice part. I've had some like shy guys who didn't really know how to roleplay their dude and they felt really uncomfortable like getting their feet wet with the role playing, and it's kind of small, but I like to spring like pertinent or leading questions on players and then build off of what they say. If they want to be at your table, they'll do their best to answer, social anxieties aside, and I try to be really like conscious of that because I have social anxiety. I know where that I know what that feels like. I know where that comes from. But I try to, if I notice like, oh, Ken hasn't been talking a whole lot, I'll turn to him and be like, so what does your character think about this? He doesn't necessarily have to like go through it in character, but I still want to kind of get him like thinking about it and getting involved.
Yeah. And I think, also being a person who wrestles significantly with social anxiety, part of that is making that person feel safe to answer that question. Mm-hmm. You don't want that person to feel ridiculed or criticized for whatever they do. And I try to, if someone's anxious about providing an answer when you put someone on the spot, I try to provide immediate praise for it, even if it's stupid.
Yeah. or even give them options like, is it like this, or do you think it's more like this? So then they don't have to feel the pressure of coming up with something on the fly.
You give them some notes that are kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, this is one of the things that Powered by the Apocalypse codifies in its rules for GMing. It's one of the many reasons why I highly recommend it for people who want to know where to begin running games.
I've been playing Powered by Apocalypse more and more, but I love the different versions of the move that are, state action that demands response, followed by what do you do? And that's such an important question, not just to push the narrative forward, obviously, but to remind characters, like, you have to be reacting to this. You have to be, what do you do? Like, and it kind of, it's helped me in spots where, in previous to getting my feet wet with Powered by the Apocalypse, I would just state what was going on and describe the scene and then kind of look at my players and wait for somebody to do something or say something. But now it just, I do the exact same thing, but I follow it with, what do you do? And suddenly it's, and they actually, they move into action really quickly. It's a real power move, is what I'm saying.
I guess under the building trust thing, we'll talk more about how being a GM is really a position of authority. Mm-hmm. But on the subject of people who won't get their feet wet, I've had success in the past saying things that just sort of admit, look, yes, it's silly. I know it's silly. You know it's silly. So we're all doing this together, which goes back to my point a little bit earlier about wanting to make someone feel safe, especially if they're anxious. And if some people like respond to a more gentle thing, like, look, no, it's goofy. We're all pretending to be elves here. It's fine.
that guy's playing like a lizard man from the sewer who runs an underground clinic. We're all being dorks.
Right. Yeah, we are all being dorks. It's okay. Like, you are not any more or less of a dork than the rest of us here. My group at least, we are in private at somebody's house. Maybe it's a little different if you're at a game store, but if you're playing D&D at a game store, come on, nobody's gonna look at you funny there.
Yeah.
That's like the places you would be playing D&D. It's not like you're playing it. There goes the woo. I didn't have any boobly. You shared that with me. This wine isn't fizzy. What the fuck? So it's not like you're playing it like as performance art on the street. You're usually in a pretty safe space. But if I have someone who responds better to more tough love, I may even say, hey, get over yourself. And if they won't, the implication is usually enough. I just would like to point out that I often have way more self-confidence as a GM than I do in any other aspect of my life, given that I'm willing to be a little bit confrontational when I'm in that position of authority. I've also been able to rope people into engaging with my story by giving them someone to love. Honestly, the single most effective thing I have ever done to get someone to do something in a game is to introduce a character who's theirs. An NPC, that is, obviously, and obviously, like, I'm not giving them a person to keep, but, like, a lover, a best friend, a rival who always turns up at just the wrong moment, a very adorable pet. I don't think I've ever had to bait you into a plotline with a partner.
No, I sort of just find them on my own.
You do. You collect. You're sort of more of a me. You collect them.
I'm always like, cool NPC. I take.
Yeah, mine. Henry can almost always be roped in with a critter.
Yeah, he's a critter guy.
Yeah, he's a critter guy. Especially if we're in person, and especially if it involves me making weird noises.
He's got specific needs.
He does have specific needs. I do make some pretty fantastic creature noises. but the second half of this is building trust. Yeah,
okay, we're building trust.
We are building trust.
So next part of this is building trust with your players. There's like a fine line between surprising your player and then dicking them over, which that line is all trust. It's about what they really gain from that experience, from the surprise that you have planned for them. And if what they gained is nothing, then you didn't actually surprise them. You just dicked them over.
Yeah, in that vein, all things must move forward. And sometimes someone will say, surprise me, and sometimes that person is your co-host on a podcast. And you will surprise them in a way they don't like, which has never happened with you, but...
I don't think so, no.
No. But if you do screw up, remember that this is an ephemeral thing. As role players, we are both the audience and the author. You can totally take a redo. This is this idea of like, no, we can just do it over. If you didn't like it, we can just do it over. Is an idea I'm working on.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about narrative a lot, but this isn't like a TV show where you nope, sorry, continuity.
Yeah.
If somebody's like, wait, I didn't like how that played out, and everyone at the table's like, yeah, that was fucked up. Then oh shit, you know what? Yeah, why don't we try that again? Why don't we call a second take on that scene and move on from there. But as far as concrete tips I have on like letting your players trust you enough that they're cool with you surprising them, don't take away stuff they've purchased at character generation, unless you have something really worth it in exchange, and you guys are on the same page for like, oh yeah, I bought this, but I'm cool with losing it through story or getting something else. And I don't necessarily mean like a 1-for-1 gear for your gear kind of thing, but maybe it's a really cool character arc if the fighter's like rusty heirloom sword finally breaks and now she's got to learn to like go over past and move on. Your player could get a really cool just a really cool moment for their character in exchange.
I mean, so building on that, you absolutely can do all of these things. Take away their stuff, break their things, kill their NPCs, but you must do it with their express permission. Be transparent about how and why you think this would happen, and let them decide if they want to accept this as a moment for character growth. Hi, dog.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's a jerk.
It's okay.
It's Beanie. He's got thoughts.
Be transparent about how and why you think this would happen, and let them decide if they want to accept this as a moment for character growth. That dog is going to continue.
He's going to, just pretend like it's not happening. Okay, Margaret will get it in post.
Well, we'll do our best. Do not dodge critical questions either, like what penalties will I take for this, or how many sessions do I have to wait for a replacement, etc. And if you don't know, pull it out of your butt and be honest.
Yeah.
Like, stick with it. If you're like, 2 sessions, don't make it 3, don't make it 5, keep it to 2. Write it down if you got it.
When in doubt, just ask your players is like probably one of the golden rules of all GMing. Like, I understand it's like, no, I have a surprise for them and I want to make sure that they don't see it coming. But if you really aren't sure if they're going to be down with what you're doing, you should just ask, man. Like, it's all about having fun here. The other thing I recommend for trying to get your character or trying to get your players to build trust in your game and in your narrative, let them win a couple of just ridiculous victories to get their confidence up. Like, let them do a couple of things they really want to do that you hadn't planned for, even if it tosses out something you made or wrote. I follow a bunch of game developers on Twitter, and now I don't remember who it was, but they had like this great thing about like, if you've come up with this huge arc for how they're getting from point A to point B, and it's got all these fights, and you've got all these puzzles, and then in the first session, they ask, hey, doesn't point B have like a train going straight from here to point B? You'd be like, oh, shit, it sure does. And you throw everything out because your player came up with something that you can't just like, no, it's my story. Like, you gotta let them do what they want to do. If you're shoving them back onto your pre-prepared, manicured path so often that they start to notice and take umbrage, then you've done the bad kind of railroading.
Oh, we're going to talk about the art of railroading, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love to tell players things I didn't use because a potential plot has changed, just like you were talking about. The whole like, oh shit, it sure does for all these things because you bypassed them. Though, as we talked about, I think in our GMing 101, I don't ever completely throw those things away unless they're too far past. Like, I try to, there's still tent poles. They can still prop the tent up elsewhere.
Yeah.
If I have anything I can salvage, I salvage it, and anything that doesn't make sense anymore gets tossed.
Yeah, just because they ended up taking the train from point A to point B, that doesn't mean that the dragon you wanted them to fight before wouldn't like attack the train. Like, you still got your dragon fight.
Of course. Yeah. Or like if they bypass the place where they were supposed to get off, whatever, just move it down a couple stops. It's fine. But we'll get into that later. I love to tell people the stuff that I got rid of because they moved past it to the point that I could no longer use it as a tent pole, and I love to do this after the campaign is over. And I call this the cutting room floor. Since my prep is always sketching out several concepts that may or may not get used, and then I use my players' choices and reactions to build on them. As I literally just said, these concepts can always be slotted in later or abandoned if it wouldn't make any sense, and when they get abandoned, they go to the cutting room floor.
And I can confirm that this is another great way to, because I love hearing about like, oh well, if you guys had chose door number 2, this would have, because I feel like I'm getting I'm getting confirmation that I like actually have agency in your game when you're telling me stuff like this. Like, oh what? Oh, we missed out on this, or oh, we just barely dodged that. Like that, I like learning about that stuff.
Yeah, I think I've done at least one cutting room floor with you.
Have you?
I don't know. I don't know if have you ever been in a game with me that finished? Because the 2 I can think of, Metro and Fridays, didn't finish.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Oh, I'm sorry you've never gotten to experience the cutting room floor.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, we'll have to fix that.
Yeah, maybe you should run some more games later.
Yeah, maybe I'll just scrounge up another 24 hours.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I mean, I'll share it with you. Well, anyway, what about this? Trust goes both ways. So what about trusting your players? I mean,
I don't know, man. What about trusting the player? I don't trust them at all.
I mean, for me, everyone gets a chance to prove they're not an opportunistic munchkin. Just because you've got one doesn't mean just because you've got one opportunistic munchkin doesn't mean you've got to treat all your players that way or treat them all the same. That sounds like it might be another topic. Beyond that, let go of a little control and let your players come up with something cool when you pitch a hook.
Yeah. Your players are probably cool. I mean, you invited them to this game. Unless you're doing, like, some rando convention game where you found your guys on Craigslist, you may not know a lot about them, but if you play with friends, like, they're probably pretty cool. Like, let them come up with the stuff.
They are, if you're playing with friends, they're at least people you chose to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't get into GMing as a position of authority.
Oh, well, that goes on the list, I think.
Yeah, it does, but it is.
How to be a benevolent dictator over your game.
Yeah. I mean, we may get into that, I think, in the art of railroading.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It's a thought that's in my brain, and I don't know if it's in any of the content we've already recorded.
We'll get familiar with our backlog here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks,
Boobly. Hang on, let me refill.
Okay. Okay, well,
refreshment.
I guess that's it. Got anything else?
I don't know, maybe Boobly can sponsor us later.
Yeah.
I'll just send in a tape of my, Boobly belches.
All of Ray's belches brought to you by Boobly.
Brap.
A Pepsi product.
A Pepsi product. Pepsi for life.
I like it when you tell everybody to get out.
Oh, okay. Everybody get out. Just get out.
All right,
everybody get out.
Okay. Change it if you want to.
Just fucking change it if you want to. What is it going to be?
Well, I like both.
We're on episode 20 and we're still what's our sign off?
I like both.
Do we even have to do
I like if we do a bit where you're like, everybody get out.
Everybody get out.
Change it if you want to. And then we do our where to find us on the internet.
Do we have to do the where we find? Yeah, we should do the where to find us.
Wait, is the where? Because is it in our outro? I don't remember.
Yeah, Margaret will fix it.
Okay.
It's all jazz, baby. It's all about the Twitter handles that you don't plug.
Oh, right. Well, because we usually sign off where we can find us.
So where can we find us? We can find us at bonusexpcast.wordpress.com. We also have Bonus EXPcast Twitter, which is great. And if you want, you can email us at bonusexpcast@gmail.com. I don't know. You
can send us
just email
questions.
Questions or
if you want, if you're struggling with running your game,
tell me about your character, or if you're like, hey, I came up with this cool custom thing for my game. We'll talk about it. I don't know. Will we talk about it?
Sure. We'll read listener mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to hear about your characters. We want to hear about your campaign. We want to help you if you're struggling. We do understand that we are on a weird rotating schedule. We record a whole lot of content ahead of time, so don't get disheartened if we don't read it right away. We probably read it right away and it just didn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got quite the backlog right now.
We do have quite the backlog. If you have an advanced design question, send it to us. If you'd like to see what we would do, how we would house rule something, send it to us. If you've got a cool house rule for a system that we've talked about enjoying, send it to us.
Yeah. We welcome your polite and engaged feedback.
Yes. We welcome your polite and engaged feedback. Thanks, Cameron Esposito, for that verbiage. I'm at Zenith Sun on Twitter if you want to follow me directly.
I'm at Ray_Cole if you want to follow me directly.
Yeah.
And we have our own like personal, like professional things getting buck wild.
Yeah.
I can probably say this because I bet it's happened by now.
Sure, by the time this comes out.
I'm represented by a literary agency now. How's that for real life? I'm
Sweet.
like a real fiction author now. I've got an agent.
I should be having fiction published in Weird's monthly magazine Chronicles.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if it will be released by the time this episode comes out, because my final draft is due on the 4th, which is my birthday.
Oh.
So I think it's the end of the month, end of April is when that's supposed to come out. I don't know when this episode will be released. So it may or may not, but there will be a link on our website to download it. And I just signed on to 2 more kickstarted, stretch goal kickstarted books. And I'm not sure. I think I can talk about which ones they are because they were from the Kickstarter. So I'm going to be working on the Eon expansion and Dark Eras 2.
Yeah.
And probably Exalted the Lunars.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Red of Fang and Claw or whatever the fuck the 3rd edition title is going to be.
Lunars, the lunar inning.
The moon inning. Lunars, damn it, moon.
Lunars. It's gonna be better, we promise.
Promise, yeah.
This will be a viable character choice, we promise.
We promise.
You promise?
We will change it if we want to.
Change it if you want to. No, for real, get out.
Thanks for listening. Bonus Experience is filmed live before a fictional studio audience in Sigil. We are written and produced by Monica and Ray. Our theme song is Reuse Noise with the Light by CDK and is used under the Attribution Non-Commercial Creative Commons license. Our logo and art is done by Nino Studios. Check her out at Nino, that's Neno, Studios on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks again, and see you in the next episode.